Hello, Don. These are your carburetors. Let's see the carburetor number right here. Where is it? I'm used to looking through watching the camera to get the carburetor number B2146. This one's going to be a little bit harder to see. The linkage is in the way. Alright, there you go. Down there. See if it'll B1301. Excellent. Okay. Now then, put this back on the tripod and go over a few things. We are first and foremost, let's get the focus back. There we go. First and foremost, we're doing some cold weather testing. 45 degrees, which is, to me, that I might as well be in the Arctic. 51 degrees. Okay, what do we got here? 43 degrees. How do we get 51? 54. That's interesting. Huh. Anyway, I saw on the news the temperature in Dallas is about the same as in Anchorage, Alaska. It's 28 degrees for an overnight low, I guess. Let's go over a few things here. Anytime you're dealing with the fuel lines, you are going to want to stabilize the fuel fitting in the carburetor float bowl cover and just operate the swivel fitting. Do not do this by itself, otherwise you take the chance of ruining the threads in there. Another thing that's going to help you with the installation of the carburetors, pick up a set of 1/4-inch drive wobble sockets. You do not need anything more aggressive than a 1/4-inch drive for assembling and tightening the carburetors to the intake manifold, and the swivel fitting helps you get up underneath where it's hard to reach. And you have a series of washers and a sleeve in here, which operates as a limit stop, and you do not need to torque down on these things. Another thing you're going to want to do is get your air log. This is the air log, and install the carburetors and have them loosely installed. Then put your air log in there. As you wiggle the carburetors around, you'll be able to get the air log on the studs, and then snug down bolts on the top of the carburetor so that means you can pull your air log off and on, because it is possible to install these, tighten them down, and then have them out of alignment, and you will never get the air log in place, and you have to undo all your work. So air log, then snug down the carburetors, then pull the air log off and do the final tightening. Also, it is possible to put these carburetors on incorrectly, so you always want, when I say incorrectly, it's possible to put them on in the wrong place. You want the choke levers in the center where your common cable goes down, which reminds me, that common cable is pulling up on this levers as they try to go up in an arc. The cable is about 3 feet of steel and steel, and so all this combined makes for, and also at the same time, when you pull up on this carburetor, on this choke lever, you're actually operating the throttle linkage. As you notice this lever moving right there, you're operating the throttle linkage. So all told, it makes for a very hard pull on the choke, and that's why that's the reason. And you can adjust these jam nuts and screws to get the levers in line, more in line with the angle of dangle on the choke cable. All red gaskets here, factory gaskets. Got all your machine work done, new throttle plates, new butterfly throttle plates, throttle shafts. All the surfaces have been machined, everything's been plumbed, made plumb and true in terms of center to center and all that sort of thing. Just the quality of work from the factory was just abysmal originally. What else? Oh, fuel quality. You're going to want to obviously have fresh fuel, but you're going to want to have clean fuel. The reason for that is you have the idle jets, G55 idle jets. They have in them a very, very small orifice, easily clogged with fuel. So if the car, easily clogged with debris. So if the car does not idle, you have a clog in one or both of the idle jets. And the car only idles on the first barrel of each carburetor. So only this idle jet is affected. This idle jet on the second barrel is just filling a hole. It does nothing, but it is the same jet. So if you are ever on the road and you need to, and you have one jet clogged up, all you have to do is unscrew them and swap them. Idle mixture screws. Again, we only idle on the first barrel of each carburetor, and this is the only idle mixture screw that operates. This one in the second barrel is a dummy. It just plugs a hole. Don't mess with it. Your goal with the idle mixture screw is to screw it in and out until you get the proper running of the engine, proper idling of the engine, the best idle speed of the engine. And that's something that you can do anytime you want. You're not going to hurt anything. It's one of those things you can use a tachometer to check your idle to see when you get to your optimum idle, or just listen to it. Another thing that you should not have to deal with, but beware of, this is a long skinny screw that acts as to make contact with a pin on the second barrel throttle shaft. And what that does is when you open up all four barrels and you close the throttle, well, this pin right here actually works on the pin. This screw right here works on the pin for the throttle shaft and artificially closes or forces closed the throttle shaft, the throttle and the butterfly. But it has to be adjusted precisely so that it just barely makes contact. And if you adjust it too much, what will happen is it will start to open the first barrel and affects your idle. It's essentially as if you're doing the idle screw right here, as if you're adjusting the idle screw. It's hard to see on the... It's as if you're adjusting the idle screw and opening up the idle more on the carburetors. I will have these adjusted for you, but it's just something that you should be aware of in case anyone goes messing with those things. I'm trying to think what else. Fuel filtration. I always recommend that you install an extra fuel filter after the original fuel filter and before the fuel pump, to help filter out the fuel, and obviously make sure that you have a gas tank that has no rust in it. Now let's see, we're going to do some, this is going to be the hardest test of all in this poor little carburetor. Is cold weather starting. Okay, so let's see, make sure that your fuel is up to the carburetors, and that's where you use your priming lever on your fuel pump. I'm going to do that right now. We got fuel. Usually give it maybe one squirt. Switch on. Choke on. Not bad. 40-degree weather. The only time you can adjust these carburetors is when they're warmed up, so that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to wait till we get some water temperature on this thing. Man, that's not bad. For a cold engine, I'll take that. What we want to do is wait for the thermostat to open. Thermostat just opened. Now we got some temperature. Alright. You can only adjust these carburetors when they are fully warmed up. What we're going to use is our synchrometer. PK1235 right out of the box. This thing works perfectly. Does not need any further adapters, so you don't have to worry about that. Now then, what you're going to do is we're going to disconnect our linkage. You can so you can adjust these independently of each other, and you can see right there we've got a linkage issue. You hear the idle drop. So what we're going to do is we're going to check, first of all, make sure our second barrels are closed. These since the car does not idle on this, only idles on the first barrel, we're going to check to make sure the second barrel butterflies are closed. Let's see if I can get a picture of that for you. Alright, you saw the needle did not move. Over here. Let me see that. Needle moved. Anything below 2 is gravy, and these carburetors are still machining is still tight on them, so this is going to take a little bit for them to maybe wear in just a smidge. But you notice hardly moves at all. So now we make sure our second barrels are closed. We're going to synchronize the carburetors by measuring our airflow in the first barrel. Alright, so looking at 4.5, almost 5. Almost 5. Obviously I've already adjusted and tuned these, but anyway, that's what you're looking for, and that's going to determine your idle speed. So let's say we want to idle it up a little bit higher. So let's adjust it up to, let's say, exactly at 5. So now we're at 5. Come over here. And just that up to 5, so we just bounced up to idle just a smidge. As you can imagine, the mechanics did not like to have to work on these years ago, because that meant you had to have your airlock off in order to adjust these things properly. And you have to synchronize the airflow, which is one thing that you will be doing before you put the airlock on. You will do all this work before the airlock goes on. You'll drive the car, you'll test it, you'll make sure everything is wonderful, and then, only then, will you put the airlock on. Didn't mean to move that. We're adjusting that. Alright, now then, idle mixture screws. We're going to adjust the idle mixture screw. Always want to make sure that our throttle linkage is not allowing the engine over rev. Alright, check our measurements again. Nothing's changed. Yep, that one actually bounced up a little bit. So let's back it off a smidge. That was too much. You're right at 5. Now then, idle mixture screw. We are going to screw in and out until we get our optimal maximum RPM, and you'll be able to tell the difference in terms of the idle. And you will do this on your own engine, so that the carburetors are tuned to your engine, your airflow. fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the idle back down so that you can see the effect is more dramatic when you have a lower idle. So let's back the idle off. Right down to 4.5. There we go. I like that. The reason I keep pushing up here is because I have no return spring on this carburetor. The return spring is over here. Okay, so now we're going to adjust the idle mixture screw, and you'll hear the RPM drop and change. It always drops until you get to the correct point. So you start to lug down. I almost lost it there, so let's go back. Back to a nice idle. Trying to lose our idle again. Doesn't take much. These have been remachined to where they're better than factory, so it does not take much. You can always use a tachometer to watch the RPM. That'll help you immensely. The tachometer on the car is probably not, does not measure fine enough. I use a analog unit usually. Starting to stumble, back out. Starting to stumble. You know our midpoint's right there approximately. And the next thing you're going to do is you're going to adjust your throttle linkage so that when you install this throttle rod, nothing is changed. You can see that right there, even that movement is enough to change the RPM. So, alright, check our readings here. Still at 4.5. Over here. Still at 4.5. Make sure our chokes are not going to go anywhere. That is a nice set of carburetors. Turn them off, do a hot start. Nice set of carburetors, Don. Thank you for your patience. I sure appreciate it.